good. If we can switch a bit to a topic, curious on you. I mean, as this podcast is also quite focused on, on European leaders in biotech, or at least leaders who have a pretty strong European connection. I think you, as you basically did your university studies and PhD in France. You grew up in Morocco, then PhD in France, postdoc in Germany. You moved to US for quite a while, but then coming now with a UK company. Can you I don't know what were some of your lessons there, or how it helped you, or it's helping you now?
Yeah, no, I was extremely lucky, to have done all my schooling in France, and my PhD in France. It really, France for me was not only on the academic side, but growing as a person, the cultural side, everything, which was great. Then going to Germany was, I would say, it was my first time seeing, it was a test for me, can you take what you did in PhD and actually be an independent, somehow more independent researcher. And there I really fell in love with the whole cancer research, I think was in Germany. And then, the US very much, I had this very strong idea that, pharma companies or biotech or whatever, we didn't know that at that time, they don't do science. If you go there, it's, because it was more chemical companies. And so US really showed me that you don't have to choose between the two. You can do science, great science, to bring great drugs to the market. I think I learned a lot about biotech and being entrepreneurial. Definitely that entrepreneurial spirit more in the US, and that
you in California, I guess, where it's strong,
completely at the hub of all biotech, and not being afraid to take risks. People do encourage you to do that. And now full circle back. I see it again. I think in the UK is bringing this learning, all that I was exposed to, if you will, bringing it into the company. And what I see as the learning, I think, for European companies and everything is that Europe, and I see it now in the UK, have fantastic science, like absolutely fantastic science. I think you see in Germany started a few decades ago or a few years ago, and then in the UK you have the startup arena is very strong, right? And you have more money to get a startup company. But then I think where it becomes less or more problematic is to mature these companies into a full-fledged, industrial, company. And that's because, the appetite for risk is really less than in the US. Hopefully it's changing. Hopefully with the success of BioNTech in Germany and, hopefully with Immunocore, in the UK and things like that will encourage people to invest. Because then it's like a vicious circle. If you don't have that capital to grow the company, then you have less, talents on the clinical side and so on that exist in the US. So I think that's the learning and the comparison between the two.
That's great.
That I bring.
That's great. Yeah. And talking about, what you mentioned in Europe, also now you have, not luckily, but luckily, but it was not only luck, but now a few commercial biopharmas or biotechs. Immunocore, obviously, but you mentioned BioNTech, Genmab, argenx,
correct,
doing which are still independent with a product on the market, and the product on the market that makes makes an impact, and in this case of whatever hundreds of millions of revenues, or even in the billions of revenues. which I think also brings, I guess, other people who have that experience that you just mentioned, and bring them to the rest of the industry. And I think it's great to see, and it happened actually pretty. I mean, obviously with a delay compared to the US, compared to the Genzymes and the Genentechs, but still, yeah, great to see.